Firehouse, you were saying that people send you stuff backstage?
Oh, yeah.
How does that go? How are they? They're nice guards, they're very pleasant, but how does the food get to you, Jimmy?
Just food shows up. Nobody even calls. It just shows up, and usually there's a note, and then I eat it. And I will eat every single thing that comes. I know that's probably not the safest thing to do, and I know that maybe somebody's going to pull some terrible prank on me, but I do. I love getting food deliveries, and I will eat 4 lunches in the day if I have to.
These are local people.
Yes.
Fans, right?
Yeah.
Now, I heard you tell somebody else that you were thinking of that might be a good week for a diet. Is that already out the window?
I tried to starve myself leading up in LA. I didn't eat dinner for like 4 or 5 nights in a row leading up here. And then I thought I'm going to ease into it. And yet, we got in last night. I packed up the kids. We went right to a pizza place. I had pasta fazool. We had 2 pizzas and a calzone. And then, of course, a few other things on top of that. And then they always, of course, will throw in the cannoli. So I took a couple of cannolis home, and I thought, I'm not going to eat these. And sure enough, I ate those.
What is this Frank's place that you were talking about?
Frankie's? You don't know Frankie's in Brooklyn?
Educate.
Oh, Frankie's is a great place. It's run by 2 guys named Frank. They have a cookbook. That's how I got interested in it, is I had their cookbook. And it's just a great Italian-American restaurant.
I've met your Uncle Tony
Yeah.
and Aunt Joanne, and I love them. We email every now and again. Really great folks. What I didn't know until coming down here today is that you used to spend summers with them, right?
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like coming from Las Vegas.
Well,
back to Brooklyn.
I tell you, every year in the summertime, I'd come back to Brooklyn for either 3 weeks or a month. And we'd take the bus because I guess my parents didn't want to pay for a plane ticket. So it would take 3 days on a Greyhound bus to get here, which was nightmarish. Usually I'd be with my grandparents. I can't imagine my grandparents, now thinking back, in their 70s, taking, at that time, 4 young children across country, but they would, and then we'd go back another 3 days too. And I remember my parents, I was in Brooklyn for a month. My parents gave me $30 the time I was here. And they told me, you have to get lemon drops for your great-grandmother is one of the things you have to buy with this. And those lemon drops were $8. So I really had $22 for the month of, luckily my Aunt Joanne and Uncle Tony were there to feed me, and my Aunt Fran and Uncle Vinny and all my other relatives in whose care I would be.
There's a great expression that you can take the boy out of Brooklyn, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of the boy. Is that true of you?
I think so. It's funny because people, wherever you go, even like when I was in Las Vegas, now people think, oh, you grew up in Las Vegas. And I did grow up in Las Vegas, but people in Las Vegas thought of me as someone who was from Brooklyn, And in fact, everyone made fun of my accent when I was there. There was a lot of fighting as a result of that. And Brooklyn is just, it's a place where I think people are much closer in good ways and in bad ways than they are any place that I know of. People are on top of each other, and as a result, you get to know each other, and you also become a little more aggressive.
Are there moments where you're on that big stage, right through those doors, where you think about the journey? Are there moments where you think about the arc that has brought you here?
Yes, the last night, typically, I do get a little bit emotional looking out and thinking about just the fact that, I grew up not too far from here, and the idea that anything like this would ever happen it's not something that I ever imagined. I never imagined I would be on television. I didn't know how television worked. I didn't even imagine I would be a writer for television. These are not things that were part of my imagination as a kid. I loved television. I loved, All in the Family and The Jeffersons and Late Night with David Letterman, but to be doing this it still doesn't even make sense to me.
Let's talk about what's ahead. It's interesting that you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Is that how you pronounce it? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Cardi B. Now it seems one night. It seems that both strands of your show right now are coming together. Is that by design? Have I got it right or wrong?
Well, we always love to have variety. We don't want to ever be one thing. And so Cardi B is just pure fun. I mean, that's just pure fun, music, rap, hip hop culture in its purest form, and then you got this up and coming political star who is saying things that have a lot of people excited, and I think it's great to have them on together. And I think I always find when I have guests who seem very different together that they have a lot more in common than anyone would imagine.
Does it make for good TV when you have two people from different worlds?
I think so. Yeah, I think it does. I think it's, for me, it's fun, and if I'm having fun with it, I think the audience enjoys it a little bit more.
It's kind of almost, and I'm older than you, a throwback to Jack Parr, who used to have Bobby Kennedy and a comedian on. You know,
right.
There's a long tradition of that sort of thing.
Yeah, we've had some interesting, I think one of the weirdest pairings is we had, it was like Janet Reno and Lil Wayne or something like that. You know, I do take special delight. And sometimes we'll actually pair them because they're named. Like I remember we had Ozzy Osbourne and Fozzie Bear. We had Ozzy and Fozzie just because they rhymed. And Ozzy could not have been more confused.
Now, Deadline loves to tell your movements, you know, it's a trade thing. They call you the late night shamer in chief.
They do?
Yeah. Somebody who's commenting on the political outrageousness. Will you own that or no?
No, I don't feel like I'm shaming anyone. I feel like these people are shaming themselves, and then I'm pointing it out, just putting it into context. Because the idea that can you imagine if President Obama sat down for that meeting or whatever you want to call it with Kanye West? I mean, I'm just guessing Sean Hannity maybe he wouldn't have loved it.
Was turning 50 a big deal for you?
Yeah, it is a big deal. It's still weird to think about. You know what's even weirder than 50? 51. Because 50 at least is kind of exciting. 51 is boring, and it just means, you know. But I'm sure I'm going to look back on this like I do now on 40, which also seemed traumatic. As when I'm 60, I'll go like, oh boy, whatever age I am, I'm unhappy.
Finally, about the Brooklyn shows, do you feel as you're planning these shows that need to amp it up?
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's a bigger audience, so the show is different. It's more intimate in LA with the smaller audience and an audience that really doesn't care that much that I'm there. You know? So when we're here, we like to do some big live, not just performances, but live comedy bits. We'd like to make sure we have a lot of stars. We want to make sure that these people who stand in line a lot of times in the rain once a hurricane are entertained when they come here. And you know, you can get into a rut when you're doing the show every night in LA. This is special. We plan ahead, we come, we pre-tape bits even, you know, a month ago, and I think we have a pretty good week lined up.